Right, welcome back and let's get straight to it. I pirated Sangiev's Sweatshirt basically. So back in November, I think it was, he released his clothing line and in it was this cropped in the body, elongated sleeves, red sweatshirt. Couldn't justify the price, but thought I could probably do it myself. Gave it a go and I think it turned out okay, so I'm gonna attempt to make a bit of a tutorial here. So let's launch straight into it. So step 0 would be to go on the website, sangiev.com, find the sweatshirt and open the sizing chart. And you're gonna need that to cross-reference the sizes of the jumper you're gonna be buying to do this. So I'm a medium, so I followed the medium column and used that to go out, and I looked on Etsy, eBay, etc., Depop, and found a jumper that I think could do the trick. So bought that jumper, and here is a rough comparison of the sizes using the diagram on the sizing chart. It's a bit narrower, but the main important thing is the length. As long as it's longer, you can work with this. So before I get into step 1, the first thing you're going to need to check is whether or not your sweatshirt is tapered. I feel like a lot of vintage ones are, in which case you'll need to follow this tutorial. If it isn't tapered, I'm going to leave a link in the description to a TikTok that discusses how to crop sweatshirts, because that's going to be way easier than this. But it only works if they're not tapered, because it essentially just takes the waistband, moves it straight up. And that doesn't work if it's tapered, because you don't have enough fabric. So step 1 of this method is to remove the waistband. So just get a seam picker, a seam ripper, whatever you call them, and just run around the waistband, picking off all the seams that attach it to the main body of the sweatshirt. Go all the way around, take it off, and that's step 1 done. Now what you're going to need to do is to cut your sweatshirt down to size. So in my case, the one I bought was 20 centimeters longer than the one I want to replicate. So now that I've got the waistband off, I need to cut 20 centimeters off it. And I know that this is going to initially make it too short, but when you reattach the waistband, you're going to be back to the length you need to be. So yeah, remove the waistband, cut it to size, whichever size that you need to follow. In my case, it is 20 centimeters. And now you have the body of the sweatshirt as it needs to be. So step 3, you need to do some planning. So this is where we need to reattach the waistband, but we have a problem. So as I mentioned, vintage sweatshirts do tend to have a bit of a taper to them. So now that you've cropped it, your waistband isn't gonna have enough fabric to go all the way around. So you're gonna need to make a little patch to fill that gap. And for that, what I did was I used the excess fabric that was cut off when we cropped it. So this is what we have essentially. So this is what was cropped. And using this, you're gonna need to make a patch to fill that gap. Now, this is the bit that's kind of hard to explain. So this is why I need this as a visual aid. So this is the way it came off. So you can see the side seam there. This is as it was. So top, bottom. When you cut your patch, you don't want to cut it in this orientation, because that's going to leave you with a raw edge at the bottom that you're going to need to hem. And if you look at, so this is the actual sweatshirt. If you look at waistbands, they are essentially folded over. So there is no seam at the bottom. It is just one bit of fabric that's folded over. And you're going to want to replicate that. So again, here is the excess fabric, and what you're going to need to do to make your patch is rotate it this way, so then you've got your 2 layers there, and you can use this edge for your seam. So it's going to fill in like so. Move that out of the way. So you can see this is the one I cut, so you can see it's cut out that way. So it was like that, and I've taken that bit of fabric, and that is what I use to make the little connecting bridge bit. So to show it on the actual jumper, I keep saying jumper, it's a sweatshirt. So to show it on the actual sweatshirt, this is what it came out as. So you can see that there is no seam on that edge there because I used that kind of bit. So yeah, so step 3, so we've cropped it, so that was step 2. We've pinned the waistband back on. We don't want to sew it on yet because we need to make this patch. So pin it on, see how much of a patch you need, take your excess fabric and make the patch out of that. Attach it to the waistband like, where are we? Like so. This isn't the tidiest, but because you're doing it inside out, it doesn't need to be, because all the messiness will be hidden. I'll probably cut more of this off at a later date just to tidy. So you can even see where I'd measured it and drawn the line. And this is all on the inside. So yeah, so cut your patch, attach it to the waistband, and then that is when you go and attach it to the sweatshirt as a whole. So just run it through your sewing machine, make sure you're being pretty even with the tension you're drawing on the waistband. I have since gone through and kind of stretched it out to remove the elastic, because in the Sangiev jumper's case, the elastic isn't very stretchy. So I've done that since, but yeah, just make sure that you're treating it pretty evenly on the way around. And there we go. So you've reattached it, you've got your patch there. Another important thing that I did, as you can see, it's a pretty sizable little thing that we filled the gap with, and it'd be very noticeable if you had that slap bang in the front or in the back. You just have this random patch of fabric. So what I ensured that I did was attached it so that it straddled the seam on the side. So essentially what that means is if you're looking from the front, you're only seeing half of it, and if you're looking from the back, you're also only seeing half of it. And it's nice and symmetrical, so it looks a little bit more considered and it looks a little bit more deliberate. And I feel like it's actually worked to the point where if for some reason you couldn't use the stuff that you cut off, you could use a bit from another sweatshirt and have it as a contrasting colour and it'd still look okay. Obviously it wouldn't be an exact copy of the one we're copying, but it doesn't look bad at all. And yeah, so that's it basically, and it turned out alright. I'm pretty happy with that. I've shown what it looks like on body, which I'll have hovering next to me somewhere. And if you compare it to the fit of the actual Sangiev jumper, I feel like it's close. So again, to pick it up, the one place that I was lacking, which when I showed my little diagram at the start, it should be obvious, mine isn't as wide. It was really difficult to find one that was as exaggeratedly wide as the original one. And I feel like most people would probably struggle with that. I don't have the sizing chart to hand, but if you're copying a size small, you might be able to get closer. But in my case, I bought a double XL. Did I? But in my case, yeah, I did buy a double XL. And yeah, I got close, but the width isn't there. But still, I feel like the intended look and the intended cut is still somewhat preserved. And the main thing that I feel like I lucked out on was that the sleeve length is right. Because when you've got one of these cropped in the body, elongated sleeves, to quote the man himself, when you've got one of these sweatshirts, it's the ratio between sleeve to body that's important. And in my case, I feel like the sleeves are nigh on the exact length. That measurement isn't always listed online, so you're either gonna have to bust out like your measuring tool on Photoshop or whatever you use, or do some like vague pixel counting to make sure it's all right. I lucked out. But yeah, in conclusion, I feel like it's gone all right. If you really want to go extra and copy the jumper sweatshirt exactly, Sange's one is intended to be inside out. It was inside out with the print printed on the inside of the sweatshirt like this. So a bit like that. And see, you've still got you've kind of got the raw hems and stuff like that. This wouldn't work on the one I bought because it's got this horrible thing and that'd be sticking out on the back. And plus, I feel like without the print, you can tell it's an inside out sweatshirt and I think it looks a bit weird. So in my case, I don't ever wear mine inside in, outside out, like so. But yeah, if you want to try and do it inside out, and if you have access to a screen printing thing, you can print your own thing on it. If not, get creative, do some drawing or whatever. And yeah, I feel like it's a success. So this also works if you want to try and get a different colour and try and make your own version of the undercover fall winter 18 ones. So there was the dark green one, there was a pink one, and a grey one, I think. And I initially, the reason I wanted to do this was that pink one, but that was a really hard colour to find in vintage blanks. And yeah, if you do want to copy the undercover ones, all you need to do after finishing this is distress the ribbing. So if you look at the undercover one, it's got kind of distressed neck detailing, the waistband is as well, and probably the cuffs on the arms. So just take a cheese grater to it or something and just hack away at it a bit. Don't do too much because it's fairly subtle, but that is pretty much all you really need to do to go from Sangiev sweatshirt to undercover sweatshirt. I feel like that's been explained decently, what I did. So essentially, that's how you do it. Job done. Cheers.